It's that time again, ladies and gentlemen. It's episode 19 of the What's He On About Cricket podcast. I urge you to get comfy. Maybe have a little nap. Unless you're driving, please do not go to sleep. But today, we've got a lovely little episode starting with, we're going to dive into the shallow end of England's Champions Trophy. We're not going to dive too deeply in there. We're going to keep our head above water. And we're going to have a look at the next steps for England's white ball team. Who could be the next captain? Whilst we go through the show, have a little think who's going to be your next white ball captain. India get it easy in the Champions Trophy. It's a farce. It's a joke. And India are loving it over in Dubai in the same little spot, the same little ground. That's all to come as South Africa fly back and forth between Pakistan and Dubai in about 24 hours. And then we'll end the show with a preview to the semi-finals. Have a little look. Who's going to win? I'll let you know in advance. Australia are getting pumped by India. But there's more to come, and we're going to predict our Champions Trophy winner at the end of the show. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Make sure you're really, really comfy, and ask yourself, what is he on about? We're going to recap the rolling from England to start with. It was a tournament of pure rollings and pumpings for England, and I'm just going to remind you of the stats behind England's Champions Trophy, if it's not too challenging to hear. Please don't turn it off. You'll want to hear this. England lost to Australia by a lovely little 5 wickets. That was the first game. We don't want to dive into that. Josh English really tore us apart. Then we lost to Afghanistan by 8 runs. Yep, we lost to Afghanistan by 8 runs, and then we closed it off, with Buttler's last white ball game as captain, and we gave him a send off by getting absolutely obliterated by South Africa by 7 wickets after posting 179 all out on a supposed belter of a track. Now, I thought I'd have a little dive in and see what kind of stats I could make, and I'd look at England's top 7. Excluding Root and Duckett. And I thought, what's the average, the batting average of these lads in the top 7? So just to let you know, that includes Phil Salt, Jamie Smith, Harry Brook, Joss Buttler, and Liam Livingstone. I calculated that they, as a whole, averaged 14 with the bat. That's 5 of England's top 7. And at a strike rate of 80. Now, that 216 runs are scored across the tournament by these 5. Just under half of those were scored by Joss Buttler. So I thought I'd remove Joss Buttler from the equation, and that leaves Salt, Smith, Brook, and Livingstone, and they almost average single figures. Yeah, it was not a fond tournament to look back on for the English batters. They've got a lot to work on. The Jamie Smith at 3 didn't work. The Harry Brook up to 4 didn't look 5, didn't look particularly brilliant, did it? But that's where he bats in the Test team. So it's definitely not the number where he's batting. It's clearly the place where he's batting. He does not enjoy facing spin, as we have discovered. But those stats are pretty remarkable. And with the bowlers, it was just clearly a selection issue. I think these points are getting repeated, but we weren't playing anything other than right arm fast or Adil Rashid. And in Pakistan, you think you might need a bit of variation on these flat tracks. Just as a bowler bowling on his own would think that maybe not the same ball every time is going to work to these batters. Let's maybe try some slower balls, some bouncers. That's what you got to think about when you're picking a bowling lineup. You got to think about different opportunities, make the batters think differently. Bit of left arm over, bit of right arm round, bit of different angles, bit of different paces. And we didn't get that. We didn't get that from the bowlers. And also a complete lack of all-rounder. It wasn't Bryden Castle's tournament. Jamie Overton, for me, is not the pick. Simple as that. And also we were reluctant to play the likes of Rian Ahmed, which will forever boggle my mind. But we needed an extra spinner. We needed an all-rounder. We had Rian Ahmed waiting in the wings, so we played Jamie Overton because he's tall. That's about it, really, for England. So moving on to the future, and we look at this future of England with optimism and buoyancy. and I'm sure we're going to get shot down. However, I mustered up four captaincy options, four outside the squad, four inside the squad. So, going to correct my mistake and say eight captaincy options. But let's look outside the squad first. Just to let you know, I do not think Brendan McCullum's going to pick outside of the squad. Just to start this off. But let's look at it for a bit of fun. Option number four for me. Now, this name's getting thrown around by plenty of people. His name's getting launched into the mix. It's Lewis Gregory. He's got heaps of 50 over experience domestically. He's also played 3 games for England over that COVID period. I think it was versus Pakistan. And he actually averages 59 with the bat. And he captained Somerset. He's had loads of captaincy experience in the white ball stuff. But I think it's very unlikely for Baz to pick him. But he's a lot of people's favourites. Coming in at number 3, now I'd love to see this man back in an England shirt. He's got, unfortunately, accustomed to the drinks and the towels and coming on to help out his fellow batsmen who are batting in his place. It's Sam Billings. Unfortunately, he's not had the career he wanted to yet in the international setup. However, his white ball form of late, just as he's beginning to become a complete white ball specialist, he's been playing all over the world. He's been in the Big Bash. He won the Big Bash this year. He's been in the IL-20. He's been playing in the Pakistan leagues. And more importantly, he's been captaining Kent and the Oval Invincibles the last few years or so. And the Oval Invincibles have won back-to-back 100 competitions with Sam Billings as captain. Could we see his return, or do we not need another keeper batsman to join the likes of Banton, Smith, Salt, Butler, etc.? Duckett. But no, number 2 for me. A lot of people calling out this guy externally. Sam Curran. England need a left armour. England need an all-rounder. England need a captain. Now, Sam Curran has captained the Punjab Kings in the IPL and he's captained Surrey. He's really developing into a white ball only player as he falls out of love with the Test game. But is he an option, or do we think that he's just been completely disregarded by Brendan McCullum and this new England white ball side? It feels like they don't like him anymore. They don't love him anymore, which is gutting because the England fans are still big supporters of Sam Curran. Could he return? If so, he'd be a great pick, great fit into the side, let alone as captain. I think we probably need him as a cricketer more than we need him as a captain at the current stage. And coming in at number 1, it is the mighty Johnny Bairstow. He was in the 2022 to 2023 Bazball Test match period, and he was just glorious. He was world class. He was hitting balls to all parts, saving England's Test team from multiple defeats. And all of a sudden, despite being in that 2022 Test team of the year, all of a sudden he has disappeared. And I'm gutted because he was part of that absolute England ODI pomp that was between 2015, 2019. Bairstow was a huge part of that, opening the batting. And he's still central contracted for England. And I believe that this guy could walk straight back into this team, especially with a bit of good domestic cricket under his belt this summer. I could see him walking back into this ODI side. And as captain, I could see him really leading from the front, opening the batting, and he could be absolute quality. Bring back prime Johnny Bairstow, I say. And he's still not even that young. I think he's 35. He's obviously getting on in his career, but Steve Smith is 25. Look what he's doing. He's captaining teams when arguably he shouldn't. But who says Johnny Bairstow can't come back into the fold and take on the armband? Now, internally, I couldn't bring myself to putting the likes of Joe Root, Ben Stokes on this list, but I've got a few good picks coming up for you. Number 4, Phil Salt. He took charge of England's T20 team versus Australia in 2024, and he drew 1-1 in that series. He's devoted to this England white ball side. However, his dodgy form of late has raised a few eyebrows, especially over the last few months in India, in the Champions Trophy. He has been suffering. But is that enough to say he should get dropped? I don't think so. So maybe he could be an option as a captain leading forward. He's done it before for England. Maybe he could be an exclusive T20 captain. Who knows? Number 3, Ben Duckett, averaging 60 plus as England's ODI opener. This guy is far from out of form. He is the perfect mold of that English opener, traditional captain. Bring him in. However, there are some cons that comes with Ben Duckett. Number one being that test calendar. We're going to come on with the next pick as well about how the test calendar is going to be an issue. Brendan McCullum's not going to be able to make all the test matches because he's the white ball captain and there's some overlap in the series. That means if you pick a captain who's in the test team, they will have to miss out of some of the white ball games. Do we want that? I don't think so. For me, separate the teams. Ben Duckett, he's going to clash with some test games. He will be playing in those test games because it's likely to be against India or Australia. Not to mention also, Ben Duckett loves a little loose view on the game of cricket in front of the media. He loves to say how England really just don't care about this series between India if we go and win the Champions Trophy. Yes, that's been taken out of proportion, but I begin to feel that that could come up a little bit more often for England and Ben Duckett if he has to do interviews every single game. So I worry that he could be seriously in the media firing line as he has daily interviews. Number two, Harry Brook, current white ball VC, a lot of people's favourites, a lot of people's favourites. But that's just about the only pro. Yes, he's one of England's best batters in the world. That's probably the second advantage of picking Brook. However, it comes with negatives. Again, just like Duckett, he's in the test side. There'll be overlap. There'll be games he can't play. And is it too much too early for Harry Brook? Are we putting too much pressure on this guy? Yes, a lot of people say his cricket brain is top tier and he thinks brilliantly about the game. However, I worry that especially in this slight slump of form, that maybe the captaincy could affect his batting. However, I'd love to see Harry Brook take the job. I just really would prefer having someone exclusively white ball captain who plays all the games. And for that reason, my number one pick is Liam Livingstone. Wasn't long ago when he scored his maiden ODI 100 in November versus West Indies as the white ball as the ODI captain over there. That was the only game they won, but it was greatly due to his batting. And they did lose that series 2-1 in the end. But it comes again, just like Phil Salt, how his recent form has raised some questions over his game, over his should he be in the squad? You know, a lot of questions coming up. And Liam Livingstone, for me, stays in the team. So does Phil Salt, 100%. They've had a few games of bad form, but I'd like to see Liam Livingstone, exclusive white ball captain, bat him higher up the order where he wants to bat. He doesn't like playing this lower order pinch hitting role. He's really handy with the ball, both leg spin and off spin, and I think Liam Livingstone will be a good pick to take this side forward, but only for a short period. I think it's going to be a short-term pick for Brendan McCullum as the white ball side gets reinvented, but Liam Livingstone will have the captaincy for me. Now, big shout out to Faraz for the next topic. Just for next episode, if you fancy getting a little topic in or a little shout out, you can do that by sending me a TikTok, DM, or on Instagram. But Faraz has made his points clear. He's over on the Tall Leggy podcast if you want to check him out. But he thinks things are easy for India. And Faraz, I agree with you, sunshine. The Indian spinners in Dubai, in the last game, in fact, versus New Zealand, bowled 37 of the 45 overs. That is unbelievable. These guys have picked a squad and they're picking teams purely based on Dubai conditions. And it's becoming a little bit of a joke. It's becoming a home pitch for India. And I've never seen this in any other sport. One team refusing to go to the host nation, playing all their games in a lovely spot like Dubai. Every single one, same hotel, no travel, same pitch. They can pick whoever they want. They can pick as many spinners as they want. They're not. I thought maybe you could even say, all right, India, you're not going to come to Pakistan, but you're going to play in a couple different grounds over the UAE. You know, get a couple games in Abu Dhabi, get a game in Dubai, just so they can't set up in one spot. It's so unfair. When you got the likes of South Africa, they beat England. Okay, so they had to travel to Dubai to wait to see if India lost to New Zealand. Then on that evening, so they got there overnight of the India-New Zealand game. Then New Zealand lost to India. So South Africa had to fly all the way back from Dubai to Lahore. So that is an absolute farce how the poor South Africans have travelled between Dubai and Pakistan twice in 24 hours, just thanks to India and the calendar, really. But I thought I'd dive in a little bit. I thought I'd do a bit more stats digging into the number of overs bowled by spinners. Now, no team in the tournament, bar two, has bowled in their total bowling overs in the series have bowled more than 50% of spin. In second place, it's Afghanistan, who have the likes of Mohammed Nabi, Rashid Khan, and Noor Ahmad. And their team are completely based around these three spinners, and they'd play that anywhere in the world. However, India have a team of good spinners, but good pacers, and they have a lot of different forms of their bowling attack. However, so Afghanistan have bowled just over 50% of their overs by the spinners. So I worked out India's, and they have bowled 66% of their overs from the spinners. And it is ridiculous. You've got the likes of Varun Chakravarti, Kuldeep Yadav, Jadeja, and Axar Patel, each bowling 10 overs each or on the way to 10 overs each versus New Zealand. And it's just they're playing a different tournament at this point, and it's completely unfair. They've got the comfort of home conditions, and they've got, sorry, not the home conditions, but they've got the comfort of staying in Dubai for a matter of almost a month. And then they've got the conditions which they're playing on day in, day out. They've played 3 games there, pumped every team that have come to their surface. And they've also learned that if they play 4 spinners, they can just bowl a team like New Zealand out for 200. So it's unbelievably unfair, in my opinion. And also unfair on South Africa, who aren't even in their group or even meant to play them in the semi-final. And they had to travel to Dubai, see India for the day, and then go home. Absolutely redonkulous. Cheers to that topic, Farahs. Make sure to check him out. Now, on to the previews of the semi-finals. Semi-final one, this is going to be quick and easy. It's India versus Australia. Now, Australia are going to get pumped. They've played one group match so far in full, and they won it. So well done. You've made the semis based on winning one game. They were saved by the rain versus South Africa and saved by the rain against Afghanistan. Yes, they were looking to roll through Afghanistan. However, you never know with the Aussies, do you? You never know when they might give in. But Australia have played one game, they've won it, and they're into the semis. Well done, Australia. Well deserved, I'm sure. But this game's only going one way. The Australia spinners, well, spinner in Zampa will not compete unless he has an absolute field day. This is what it looks like. It's Zampa versus Jadeja, Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel, and Chakravarti, who clearly India aren't afraid of bowling them for 40 overs. Now, Australia will have to bowl a lot of pace because that's all they have. They really only have Adam Zampa to back up with the spin. So, Indian conditions, even though it's in United Arab Emirates, it is basically home conditions now for India, as we've said plenty of times. They have plenty of spinners, and Australia are going to get pumped. Absolutely clear as day. Now, part of me feels bad for the Aussies. However, it's a very, very, very small part. So, all the best, India. Please dominate Aussies, and we'll see how that goes. Shubman Gill is going to churn some runs out, 100%. And I believe, in my prediction, India will win the toss and bowl against Australia. And they're going to finish on about 257, I see. I see that happening. And India are going to chase it down with 4 wickets to spare. And Shubman Gill is going to get a not-out century. That's how I see that game. And the poor old Aussies will get obliterated. Now, South Africa versus New Zealand. This could go either way. This is a seriously tough prediction. And it's going to be the game of the tournament for me, unless rain rains it off. If South Africa win, India will win the Champions Trophy. South Africa will go to Dubai for the first time, and India will win. If New Zealand beat South Africa, I see New Zealand winning the Champions Trophy. This is really interesting. New Zealand are the only team I can see beating India in Dubai, despite that 44-run loss But sorry, that is now completely besides the point. We are predicting South Africa versus New Zealand. South Africa are a great team, so well balanced, but so are New Zealand. It makes it so tough. They've both got great all-rounders. They've both got brilliant bowlers. Matt Henry's been lighting up the tournament, but South Africa's bowling attack in the pace department is ridiculous. Both have got unbelievable batters, all in form, tons everywhere. But South Africa have been on two plane journeys in the last 24 hours, so that's got to affect them. But it's going to be a tough prediction. These teams both met on the 10th of February in that tri-series before the tournament, and New Zealand won it by 6 wickets. It was a tighter game than it seemed, but I can see New Zealand doing it again. I'll be gutted for South Africa, but New Zealand are going to win this one by a few wickets or 80 runs. I think New Zealand are a better balanced side than South Africa. And to be honest, I just don't want India to win the tournament, so I'm going to send New Zealand through. So for that final prediction on Sunday, that's going to be our next podcast day. Everyone make sure to set your reminders for Sunday evening, English time. But it's going to be India versus New Zealand in Dubai. Now, I just want to bring this up. Poor Pakistan. I mean, they've worked so hard to get this tournament on home soil, and it's been completely overruled by India. You know, India are playing in their home conditions. We're having almost half the games now in total in Dubai because India are going to get to the final. And India have beaten Pakistan in Dubai. India are going to be in the final, and if India win the tournament with a final in Dubai, it's just going to be so sad for Pakistan, who fought so hard to host this tournament, and it's just completely unfair that the hosts are going to not be able to host the final. It just is gutting, and I feel so bad for Pakistan because I'd love them to have a good tournament, and if they got to the final on home soil, how brilliant would that have been? Anyway, I can see New Zealand batting first, posting 230, and then Virat Kohli leads the charge in return for India. But Matt Henry's going to take wickets. Let's be honest, and it's going to go down to the last over. But in the words of the great Ian Smith, I hope he's on commentary in the final. New Zealand will win by the barest of margin. So make sure to follow all the social medias on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure to leave a review on the podcast and follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening. And let's hope, above all else, that the Aussies don't get another trophy. So I hope it got answered this week of what was he on about. Cheers.